The story of Adubei, a journey of strength and betrayal. Adubei was a woman of focus, determination, and vision. Growing up, she watched many of her friends dive into relationships, some even stumbling through heartache after heartache. But Adubei had different plans. She had seen too many people lose themselves in the chaos of love before finding their true paths, and she was determined not to make the same mistake. From a young age, she knew she wanted more out of life. She wanted to be successful, independent, and powerful. So while her peers were dating and dreaming of weddings, Adube buried herself in her studies. She graduated top of her class and immediately threw herself into building her career. She started her own business and poured her heart and soul into it, turning down countless suitors along the way. To them, she would simply say, "I'm not ready," because in truth, she wasn't. Her mind was set on something greater. Years passed, and Adobe's hard work paid off. She became a business tycoon known far and wide for her sharp mind and keen business acumen. She had achieved everything she had set out to do, and by the time she was ready to think about settling down, she had built an empire. Her name was synonymous with success, and she was finally content with where she stood in life. When Adobe finally decided she was ready for love, she didn't know where to start. After all, she had spent so many years focused solely on her career that relationships seemed foreign to her. On a whim, she decided to try a dating app, something she had never considered before. It was on this app that she met Toyib, a charming and handsome man who seemed to understand her in ways no one else ever had. They spent hours talking, first online, then over the phone, and finally in person. Their connection was instant, and before long, they were inseparable. Toyib was everything Adube had ever dreamed of in a partner. He was supportive, kind, and most importantly, he respected her independence. They introduced each other to their families, and to Adube's delight, they were warmly welcomed. Their relationship seemed perfect, like something out of a fairy tale, and they became the envy of many, with people often commenting on how blessed they were to have found each other. A few months later, they got married in a beautiful ceremony that was the talk of the town. Adube trusted Toyib completely, so much so that she handed over her salary to him, believing it was the right thing to do as a wife. Their life together was blissful, and Adube felt like she had finally found the missing piece of her life's puzzle. But everything changed 2 months later when Adube began feeling unwell. She visited her doctor only to find out she was pregnant. She was overjoyed and couldn't wait to share the good news with her husband Toyib, believing he would be just as excited. However, when she told him, his reaction shocked her. Instead of the joy she expected, he looked disappointed, even upset. "I'm not ready for fatherhood," he said flatly. Adube was stunned. They were married after all. How could he not be ready? Still, Adube tried not to let it bother her too much. She believed that once the reality of their growing family set in, Toyib would come around. But less than a month later, Adobe's world came crashing down. She was at work one fateful day when she received multiple alerts from her bank. Her account has been debited. She put calls through to her loving husband, but no response. Adobe quickly rushed home from work. To her greatest surprise, she found her house empty. Her ATM cards, her cars, and all her valuables were gone. Again, she tried calling Toyib, but this time his phone was disconnected. Panicking, she called his parents, but their numbers were also unreachable. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and Adobe had nothing from Toyib. She was left alone, pregnant and heartbroken, with no trace of the man she thought she knew so well. She searched everywhere, hoping to find him, hoping to understand what had happened, but he had vanished without a trace. Then, one fateful day, she received a text message from Toyib. Her hands trembled as she opened it. The message was brief but devastating. Toyib admitted that everything about their marriage had been a lie. The people he introduced as his family were not his real family, but hired actors, his business partners, who had helped him with the con. He told her not to waste her time looking for him, as he had moved on, leaving her with nothing but the memory of a love that was never real. Adobe was shattered. She had given her heart to a man who had deceived her at every turn, and now she was left to pick up the pieces of her life. The betrayal cut deep, and to this day, Adobe has not fully recovered from the shock. She had spent her life building a fortress around her heart, only for it to be torn down by the one person she had allowed inside. Yet, in the face of it all, Adobe remained strong. She knew she had to keep going, not just for herself, but for the child growing inside her. She returned to her business, pouring herself into her work once more, determined to rebuild her life from the ruins of her marriage. Adobe's story became a cautionary tale, but also one of resilience, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, one can find the strength to carry on. Adobe, success or nothing.
Senna, bringing you amazing life stories. Stay tuned.